Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
At LinkedIn, we know hiring is a big deal for your small business. Sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming. LinkedIn uses data that you can't find anywhere else to give you the best candidates, all so you can feel confident you're hiring the best person for the job. And even a little hiring bliss. See why 86% of small businesses who post a job on LinkedIn get a qualified candidate within a day. Post a job for free at linkedin.com/achieve. LinkedIn, your next great hire is here.
So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Fresh kicks, spring tops, new dresses. There's always a score.
I mean, the denim section is unreal.
Why do I rack? All the dresses.
I always find something amazing.
Head to your Nordstrom Rack store to find can't-miss deals on all the spring things. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
Welcome to another Finely Edged production for the Premier League Cricket Club. Connecting players and coaches, clubs and leagues, volunteers and supporters alike, you're in the right place for the best of the 33 ECB Premier Leagues and the 20 NCCA counties, bringing you the stories, the stats and the standout performances that make this game great. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to both our Premier League and NCCA shows so you don't miss any episodes. Now, shall we get stuck in? Welcome everybody to another Premier League pre-season preview, and we're going to go across to one of our favourite leagues from last season, but there's a good chance it might be one of our favourite leagues this year as well. So joining us today to have a look at the Thurlow Nunn East Anglian Premier League, and I've got to get Thurlow Nunn in, otherwise Dan down at Sawston's going to batter me for not getting the sponsorship in there without a shadow. We've got the captain of a very interesting side, I think is the best way to describe it, Hugh, isn't it? We've got the captain of Great Witchingham, James Hale. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, very good. Thanks. How are you guys?
Really good. Really good.
I first came across Great Witchingham. I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again soon as you're on. I was camping in a field about 3 feet away from the cricket ground for another cricket match. I was there's a cricket ground there. That's nice. Oh, there's a cricket shop next door. That's nice. And that was Great Witchingham Cricket Club. So, yeah, I'm not sure the campsite's still there.
The campsite is sort of on and off. It is used in the summer. There is about 1 or 2 games a year. There's about 1,000 bikers in there, which always makes an interesting cricket audience, because without stereotyping too much, most of them aren't into their cricket. And all of a sudden there's some expensive cricket balls flying at some expensive bikes. So
quite literally flying towards where they're at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a massive ground, is it? There's a fairly short straight hit into the campsite.
Yeah, it's probably only about 60 metres straight, and obviously last year having Jake on board, that meant that 60 metres wasn't very far.
Yeah, I'll come to Jake straight away, because he's done all right in the winter. So I think playing in the East Anglian Premier League, averaged 37. He's gone top run scorer in the Sheffield Shield, 900 runs at 50. So does that mean the East Anglian Premier League is harder than the Sheffield Shield?
Yeah, I can only assume so. I did drop him a message to let him know I got a few more runs than him last year, and that however many would I have got in the Sheffield Shield. But no, I think in fairness to Jake was probably the most professional cricketer I've ever played with. Okay. His attitude to training, his just belief in his ability and the steps he needed to do to become a better cricketer. I've never seen anyone train like he's trained. Wow. And technically, I actually thought he was really, really good. At times, his downfall for us was getting caught deep mid-wicket from a 60-mile-an-hour seamer, more so than anything quality. And his technique was very sound. No surprise to me, he's gone back home. And I think he's just had a really good year. I think things in his life have clicked a bit. He got married before he came over to join us. Great. He had a summer over at us, which was all about, for him, sort of well-being, getting himself in the right shape. And he's gone back and he's started incredibly well. And he's probably given himself an outside shout at some looks at some A tours for the winter. So yeah, good on him. Great bloke. And yeah, it was obviously great to have him involved in the club. But to see him go and do that is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, the East Anglia Prem's got a bit of history with Aussie young players on the up. With obviously Jake Fraser-McGurk was there a few years back, and Jake Weatherall there the season just gone, and you could see how his season progressed. He just started to fire, didn't he, in the second half of the season when the pitches got a bit better, and he could just trust the wickets a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Jake was he came over and obviously he'd scored 100 in the Big Bash final, and there was this expectation he would smash it to all parts. And in truth, I think maybe for the first 4 or 5 weeks, it's not something he told me, but it wouldn't have surprised me if he was looking to try and pick up 100 gig. The way he was batting was sort of trying to put every ball out the park, which in short form cricket I didn't have an issue with, but he was probably a bit frenetic actually. And it was only when we transitioned to red ball cricket and actually it just came back to batting for him. He got 50 every single week in that format. He looked like $1 million. And for the second half of his season with us, he was pretty much one of the best batters I've seen. At the start of the season, it was just kind of wham bam stuff, and it either came off or it didn't. But I actually think he's a very, very good red ball cricketer, but he's probably been boxed in that sort of hitter T20 category.
Well, he's proved himself now, hasn't he?
I've got to ask, are you aware if he was approached for a blast or 100 gig? And it's a slightly loaded question because anyone who's listened to this pod will know that myself and Hugh are gobsmacked at how some of these boys come over from Australia, New Zealand, wherever, and actually don't even get approached.
Yeah, no, as far as I know, there was no approach made to Jake. He'd had conversations in previous years with Glamorgan, I think. And I'm sure his agent was probably dropping a line here or there. As far as we understood it as a club, there was no approach, nor was Jake really making too much of an approach. He was pretty comfortable in the contracts he had back home. He's obviously turned down opportunities in other franchise leagues to play. So for him, it was about the right opportunity. And as far as I know, there was no approach from an English county to pick him up. He's very good friends with Wes Agar as well, so we had Wes with us for a little bit, and he was obviously playing down at Kent, so Jake had more links down there. But yeah, as far as I know, no contact was made.
It's a conversation that will continue, Hugh. I think is the best way.
Well, I mean, I scratch my head over it every year. I mean, there's a lot of players that are available, and there's only so many spots. But you've got Curtis Patterson was talking about it the other day on Gideon Hayes' podcast. His fifth top run scorer in the Sheffield Shield. He can't get a county gig this year, So anybody out there want to get Curtis Patterson in? I'm sure he'll put his hand up because he was dead keen to come over. He's a 30-year-old.
Do we take a cut on that one now that we've brought it to?
Yeah, I've sorted it out. Yeah, 20%. Yeah,
that's all right. Okay.
Yeah, James, we'll pass you 5 if you can sort out a team for him.
Absolutely. Hey, let's look back on last year, James, and quick background on 2024. We knew it was going to be an interesting year in the East Anglian League. There was a hell of a lot of transfer movement last winter. You guys were right at the peak of that with some of the guys you brought in, with Jake Weatherald, with Mr. Mustard, with Monty, etc. For yourselves, a great Witchingham, though, to finish 7th place, you must have been disappointed in the end.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you guys know the league well. It's a very strong league. It's one of the, in my opinion, one of the strongest Premier Leagues in the country. And there's very good teams in there. And if you get off to a poor start, it is relentless. And you realistically are going to struggle to finish top 4. I think for us, that was the case. We had a poor start. And from there, it was just a case of making up ground. And we finished the season pretty strongly with the help of Joe Gatting, obviously coming on board for the final few games. Are we disappointed? Yeah, probably. I think we would have liked to have finished a little bit higher. That said, as much as there was an awful lot of experience, we probably only had Phil Mustard for a handful of games.
Yeah.
Monty missed a big chunk, and as good as Monty has been and he is 42 now or whatever he is. And Jake missed half the season as well. So other than that, it was a relatively young, inexperienced team. There was obviously a little bit of disruption in the season with Andy Hamby leaving to go to Copdock. So, when all was said and done, we finished a place higher or 2 than the previous year. But this summer's very much been about recruiting a slightly younger team that's a bit more dynamic, that's probably geared towards the uniqueness of our league as we play this split format. And we've always struggled in the one-day format. We've always performed well in the longer format traditionally as a side. So we've gone about from a recruitment point of view, really looking to address that over the winter, because I think that's key for us, is to get off to a good start, to give ourselves an opportunity, because in our league, if you don't win in the first 4 or 5 games that are one day, you then go into the long day format, and getting wins in that can be tricky, especially if you're batting first and then you've got to bowl a side out. So for us, it's a slow start. We picked up towards the end, probably all in, slightly disappointed, but nothing too disruptive or concerning from where we were last year.
I mean, you talk about your slow start, but you were very close in quite a few of those games to winning them, weren't you? You were a few runs here, a wicket here to actually, if a little bit of luck and actually you win two of the ones you lose, and then you're right up in the mix at the end of the season, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, if there was XG in cricket, like they go on
Yeah.
about in football, we'd have probably been doing pretty well in the table. But it was just cricket comes down to moments a lot of the time, and in those moments when we probably were ahead in the game, we could never find a way to make it. Certainly, there's one game at Sawston where I think we maybe needed 60 in the last hour. We were only two down. We never got them, and
Yeah.
that was just sort of how that season felt like it was going. We just couldn't quite find the moment when we needed it, and then all of a sudden confidence is a little bit lower. Yeah, but we were competitive in nearly every game. I think we got absolutely hammered at Mildenhall when they're overseas, rock and roll for us. But other than that, we were in absolutely every game until the last hour. So yeah, there were good signs last year, but cricket's all about winning games, isn't it? So
Yeah.
so much for coming close and second. That's something we've got to change this season.
And I'm sure you're extremely pleased to see Mr. Cariappa coming back again then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't pick him in two visits last year, so we'll see how we go this time around. So yeah, delighted he's back in the league. I might just have to sweep him every ball, I reckon.
Yeah, got to find a way. Got to find a way. It was a good league right through to the end of the season, though, with Sawston and Abraham and Copdock going down to that last day of the season. Yeah, and I think that shows that the balance across the league was good. And let's be honest, within I'm going to say 4 weeks before the end of the season, there was 5 or 6 teams who could have won it, wasn't there? So it was strength all the way through.
Yeah, and I mean, final day there was three teams. We were playing Portsmouth on the final day, and at one point they probably looked favourites. I think Copdock were chasing 300 odd. I think maybe Sawston were 4 or 5 down early,
Yeah.
and we were 4 or 5 down against Horsford. And at that point, it looked like they were going to be the champions. And for then obviously it to turn around. I mean, Copdock had Sam, so chasing 300 was not too much of a struggle for them that day. And then Sawston got what they need to be done. But yeah, I think that shows they were the three best teams in the league by quite a distance last year.
Okay.
And then the rest were all very much the same. That's not to say other sides couldn't have beaten those, but those three sides for me had the most consistency from 1 to 11, both in terms of the teams they were picking and the ability of the players. So it'd be interesting how the other sides have shaped up over the winter period, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was those three who are pretty strong again.
I'm picking up from that. You're looking at who's been transferred in so far for yourselves. That sounds like that's one of your aims this year, to try and get that consistency in that 1 to 11 as much more than you had last year. To try and you had the big names, as you say, but they couldn't play all the games. It meant people were coming in and out of the squad. By having that consistency with the likes of Nico coming in particular, that's what you want to build on.
Yeah, I think so. I think for us, it was, we probably needed a little bit of a rebuild for a while. We'd had myself, Andy, Brett, Sam, historically spellers, players that have been at the club for a long, long time. And naturally, with Andy and Brett opening the bowling for so many years for us, they're both heading towards mid-30s now. They can't do it forever. And they've gone on to explore new opportunities. At the top of the order, we've always had Sam or Spellers or Carl Rogers but these players ultimately move on. So for us, we've had to go about becoming a bit more sum of parts to some degree, that we've been so blessed to have players that can score 1,000 runs a season. Or take 50 wickets, and they're just a rarity in club cricket. Like, you just don't find those very often. So for us, actually, when you look through the league and look at the sides that win it, actually they have contributions from 1 to 11 rather than a gun player that gets you 1,000. I've been in teams where we had 1,000 runs, 800 runs. We still don't win the league. You've got to you win the league because you win games at 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
You win games because your fourth and fifth change bowler takes 2 wickets when you really needed them. So for us, that's been the focus this year, to get a bit more consistency and quality in the 1 to 11. That I would like every player who plays for us to be able to impact a game. Whereas probably in the past few seasons, we've had a few players that I probably wouldn't have backed impact a game as much as they tried hard and they wanted to make a contribution. I think we've got an 11 this year that has the capability where anyone in that team could genuinely go and win a game of cricket. And I think that puts us in a stronger position to turn those close, nearly moments into more wins.
Yeah, just looking at the league set up this year, yourself, you're bringing in some younger players, but actually it seems to be the case across the league that hungry young players are coming into the league. You've got Down and Stowe who are coming in, and they seem to be recruiting really, really well. And they've got the Wilcox family. They've got 3 Wilcoxes, all about 20 years old, all representing Norfolk, all able to kick on and get better. Freddie Fairey's there as well. You've brought in Jonah Wicks, who's been on my radar for a few years. And because you're a sort of Premier League that's fed by Premier Leagues, it becomes a place that people who maybe don't quite make county cricket, actually, if they want to progress, this is the place that they filter into.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's probably two things. I think one, there is a lot of travel in this league, so it's slightly a younger person's game. I'm saying that from experience, being a young parent myself. It's a huge commitment for family people to go and do that. So I think once you're beyond 30 in this league, it's very difficult to keep doing it.
Right.
And I think that therefore it does attract a slightly younger crowd. The biggest shift I've probably seen in the last couple of years, having played in this league for a long time, is I think there's players that live in and around London that are recognising that this is a league that can propel them to do something more. So that's Nico for us, or this year we've got Adam Chislett from Wimbledon. We had Drew Beasley last year, players that would like to play minor counties cricket but live in a Kent area where there isn't a minor county available.
Yeah.
Actually, travelling to a lot of these games is just as quick from London than it is from Norwich. That's the reality of the league. So actually, it's quite an attractive proposition for some of those players to come and play good standard cricket. You put your name on the radar for Norfolk or Suffolk for minor counties cricket. And you get to play every week in a very competitive environment against very good players. So I think that's been the biggest shift over the last few years is that, and maybe Sawston were the catalyst for doing that they were, when they came into the league, it was evident they could pull players from a slightly wider patch than others had before. And I think maybe some of the other clubs have looked at that bit and gone, do you know what, actually it makes a lot of sense that when I speak with Monty travelling to games, it takes him just as long as it takes me, and he's travelling from central London. So that's just kind of the nuance of this league. So yeah, I think it is slightly a younger person's game. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me to see people going for talented youngsters who still have an appetite to do something in the game.
Well, Sawston have got one there, haven't they? Nico Garantler's come back. I think he's a relatively local. I think he's in Cambridge or something like that, but he's been up at South North, up in Northumberland. He's a hell of a signing for Sawston. He didn't have the most amazing year, but obviously batters didn't necessarily have the most amazing last year. But he's playing a lot of twos cricket. He's right on the cusp of professional cricket. So for Sawston to get him, and if they can get a full season out of him, he'll be a real performer, you would think. And then there's other names. Just looking at Corey Rushton's. He's gone to you, isn't he? This is Ian's list that he's very kindly provided for me. And then Jonah Wicks, this lad Jonah Wicks, he didn't quite kick on. I would have liked to have seen him move maybe last year into the East Anglian Prem, but he stayed on. But what does he bring to your side?
Honestly, I think Jonah's a really impressive young man, which I like about young cricketers. I like my cricketers to be thinking cricketers, and he's definitely one of those. Cricket's a game predominantly played in the head, and then you let your skill try and do the rest. And he's a really smart kid. He's studying at uni, which impacted the amount of cricket he played last year.
Right.
But he's really, really wanting to push and elevate himself, which is nice. One of the challenges we've had in Norfolk as a Premier League side is there's lots of talented players down the pyramid that don't want to come into the East Anglian Premier League. Slightly because of travel, sometimes because of comfort zones, you name it, but he's one who's wanted to. So I had conversations with him. He's obviously a very talented batter. He brings a dynamic element of cricket. I think if you look at his strike rate, how he goes about his game, he's able to impact games in a slightly different way to some of our other batters. So Jonah will have a role for us at the top of the order in limited overs cricket. And then we'll see how that shakes up and how he slots in the longer format. But yeah, for me, he's a key part of the batting lineup this year. And I fully expect him to go pretty well. Obviously, I've seen a lot of players make the jump into this league, and the first year is probably tricky for them.
It is a big jump.
Without being disrespectful to leagues lower down, you have one or two good bowlers, and then the first change come on, and all of a sudden you can really tuck in. Whereas in this league, you're not going to face much rubbish. So actually, if you are under pressure because you haven't got the good bowlers away, and your strike rate's around 40, you begin to panic. You don't think you can, and all of a sudden you're out for 20 now, and you didn't get 70 or you didn't get 80. And it's just a very different makeup. But yeah, excited to have Jonah. Hopefully, university will allow him to play as many games as possible. We're slightly dependent upon his exam date, so yeah, fingers crossed they fall well for us.
Where is he at uni?
He's up in Liverpool, so
Oh
so
dear.
it's a little bit of a trek as well.
Yeah. That's like the worst possible drive, isn't
I
it?
was going to say we put some stats out the other week, and Frinton to Great Witchingham is the longest drive in the country, we believe, at 2 hours. I didn't put a couple of others because you've got quite a lot of hour and a half, hour and three quarter, 2 hour drives around the league, and it is a big old distance to say the least, isn't it?
It
Yeah,
is
it's
one
amazing.
train though. It's one train.
Ah,
Liverpool to Norwich is one train. I used to work on it. I used to sell drinks on it when I was 18. So there we go.
well,
That's
Six
about three
hours.
carriages. It takes about 9 hours though.
It's 6 hours. Yeah, six
yeah,
hours.
Jonah's got no excuse there. We will keep an eye on that.
Yeah. I'll sort out some sandwiches.
What about around the rest of the league, James? What signings have you seen happen where you've gone, oh, that's an interesting one?
Do you know what? If I'm honest, I don't pay heaps of attention to what others are up to because there's a lot of noise around local
Hang
cricket,
on,
as I'm
hang
sure
on.
you.
Everyone says that, but we all know you talk like a badger about your own club. You're looking elsewhere. Come on.
Who have I seen move? Obviously, I think Downham have signed pretty well in them signing Brett from us. Brett's one of the best bowlers in the league, so that is a statement
Was that
signing.
was that a difficult one for you guys to let Brett go? Because that surprised me.
A little bit. I mean, I've known Brett for a long time. We played a lot of cricket together, and my view is it's club cricket. People aren't contracted; they're not paid to be here, so they go and play their cricket where they want to and where they enjoy it. And for Brett, he didn't really enjoy playing his cricket that much last season. There was some friction in terms of between him and Jake in the team. Is the honest answer that Jake was an Australian with a forthright attitude, and Brett wanted some things his own way, and they never really got on or gelled, and that probably impacted his enjoyment of the season. I sat down at the end of the season and said, "Look, you've got a massive role for me here if you want it, but ultimately, if you didn't enjoy your cricket." Then don't play your cricket here because we all play this for fun, you know. So go and have a conversation with some other clubs, see what you want to do with your cricket, and you know that I want you. And he just came back to me and said, "Look, I think I do want to change the scenery. I want to go to Downham," which is obviously a bit of a blow for us because he is the go-to bowler in our attack, or was last year when you needed a wicket. And that has probably impacted us slightly going and signing Kieran Elliott as the pro for us this year. That
Mhm.
we've had to change tact a bit and go, okay, what do we miss now as a bowling lineup? Losing Andy Hamby and Brett Stolworthy as your opening bowlers means you're missing quality up front. So we've
Yeah.
gone and signed that this year. So we've just gone about it a slightly different way. So I think him going to Downham is, for me, probably one of the bigger signings, and obviously disappointing for us to lose him. But he's a
Mhm.
good guy, Brett, and I'm sure he'll do very well there. He probably won't get the pace and carry he's enjoyed at Witchingham, though. Is what those are my departing words to him, but I'm sure it hit enough people on the shin to be happy.
I was going to say, and he's managed to get pace and carry most places he's played for you in away games as well. Anyway.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't tend to matter to Brett what the surface is. He seems to be able to extract something from it. So I look forward
Yeah.
to him nicking me off in the first game.
Oh, that'll be an interesting one, definitely. You talk about Downham coming through and signing well. I think it strengthens in theory, the bottom end of the league because they have been promoted. But it does, looking at who else has been signed through the league. I mean, Sawston have been busy with Ed Ball, Alex James, Henry Wilson, as well as Nicol. That was slightly a surprise for me to see so many guys coming in there when they've won the league.
Yeah, I think probably if you look at Sawston, most years there's quite heavy turnover in their side. They're probably four or five in. They're in that fortunate position in the league where they're kind of the most westerly, so they can really attract from towards the Midlands and the South, and they can
Yeah.
pull in from the counties as well. So
Cambridgeshire and Huntingdonshire League, yeah.
yeah, whereas some of in Norfolk is a bit more of an outpost than where they are, so they have this ability to kind of pick up talent a little bit easier, I think. But what that also means is you can lose talent easier. That people play for you for 1 year and they go somewhere else. So for them, there's always a bit
Yeah.
of turnover. The thing they always do really, really well is they replace quality with quality. It's never like they have four outgoing players. Be like, that's a huge loss, and what's coming in is no good. They're always bringing quality in, and they always seem to bring in quality that's kind of ready to go. There's no kind of you have to wait for that to work. They've always been really fortunate at that. So yeah, for me, they always set the standard for the team to beat in this league.
Interesting. Looking around the league in terms of young players, and you've seen a lot of young players come through the league over the last few years. Is there anyone in particular that you'd say to listeners, keep an eye on this one? This is someone who I think could go a long way, not just within East Anglia, but maybe in national counties and even further first class, because there is more and more players going through that list at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. I think Obviously the Wilcox boys who now come into the league play plenty of minor counties cricket. They probably don't need too much introduction. Very, very talented lads. So any of them could probably go anywhere, depending on what they want their cricket to be. The player who probably impressed me an awful lot. There's a couple of lads at Horsford. Charlie Hood, I think, is a very, very good wicket keeper. He plays a lot of sweeps, a lot of sort of improvisation shots, which I think is an interesting kind of. I've not seen wicket keepers bat like him for a little while. Old school wicket keeper, kind of sweeping, reverse sweeping play. He really impressed me last year. Actually, he was a big part of what they did. And from us, actually, the player I think has the highest ceiling for us to be Nathan Mugridge. I
Yeah.
think I think Nathan, he was in Australia for the winter at the Root Academy. He's only 18. I think his bowling has a very, very high ceiling. So I'm interested to see how he goes this year. He was a player actually when we had Phil Mustard last year. Nathan was opening the batting for us and sort of bowling behind Andy and Brett. And Phil just walked up to me and said, "This guy could be a superstar with the ball. I think he should be given a lot more opportunity." So if Phil Mustard's seeing something, then I'm into that as well. So, but I think he's got an awful lot of potential if it all clicks for him and he gets it right. So they're the ones I know best in terms of closest to home. So who I would say keep an eye on, probably have some big seasons other than the standard names that will probably be at the top of the leaderboards when all's said and done.
What, Sam Arthurton?
Yeah, I mean, I've played a lot of cricket with Sam. He's good for at least 900 runs every year, so he'll be there again. However, he has recently become a dad, so whether that impacts his cricket or not, we'll see. But knowing Sam, that will only help him in some way.
I kind of think Sam seemed to be the person who was playing cricket literally every single day of the week for the whole of last season, all over the place. It didn't matter if he wasn't playing in the East Anglian Premier League, he was playing minor counties or national counties, and if he wasn't playing that, he was playing some rep game somewhere else, and if he wasn't playing that, he was just down a park somewhere, having a hit.
Yeah, I mean, you do well to get a bat out of Sam's hand in the summer, as many bowlers can lay testament to as well. But yeah, I caught him last week. He's ready to go for the season as well. So yeah, he'll be up there in the runs as probably will Guesty again. They're the quality operators in this league.
And I think what's interesting in your league is, and it's something we've talked about, Hugh, previously, when you look at the amount of players who have scored 600, 700, it's greater than I think any other league in the country. And I'm putting that out there without even looking at the stats. But it stands out that top 10, 600 plus, I can't think of another league, Hugh, that's as heavy as that in runs.
No, it's a consistent league, isn't it? The pitches are good. The weather's generally better. It wasn't last year, but generally it's better. It is a run scorers league. The spinners come into it, and again, Casey Carriappa, actually, I think he was the top wicket taker last year, but the pitches probably weren't favourable to him for much of the season. So if you get the dry summer,
I was going to say that's not good for everyone, is it?
I can see him getting 20, 30 wickets more than maybe he did last season.
Yeah, I think I'd say the pitches in our league are very good. I think I think our pitch is probably the best cricket wicket for everything. Copdock's a brilliant wicket, but it's very flat for batters. Similarly with Saffron Walden in it last year, there's hardly a pitch actually where it's just not very good. And I think therefore when you bowl at quality players on good surfaces, you've got to have a really, really good attack to get them out. And I think, then having the split format where those who open the batting can bat 64 overs in the long format, that does allow an accumulation of significant runs if you're in the middle of the season. So yeah, we've seen it time and time again. Although there's probably not too many that have ticked over the 1,000 mark. There's sort of like I've always seen it as, if you go above 800, you sort of move into the elite category in terms of the club league players in the APL. That's sort of like always been a benchmark in my cricket and in others I've seen, is that 800 run mark. And then there's sort of like a 6 to 800 is great season, 4 to 600 is decent season, but anything above 800, you're into really good areas. And if you're above 1,000, then your name is probably Arthurton.
Hey, looking at forward to the year then, what expectations have you got for Great Witchingham yourselves?
I think for us, obviously, last year was a big year. It was our 100th year. There was a lot going on at the club. This year, I think our ambition has to be to try and be competitive in terms of at the top of the league. Like we all play cricket to be competitive. I've played in teams here that have gone close. in previous years we've been in and around the top four. Last year we finished more mid-table, but as you guys have alluded to, we were close to a lot of games. I think it's a close renewal again. I think there's probably a couple of standout teams, but other than that, it's up for grabs. So, yeah, we're certainly setting our sights at a top four finish, and with a bit of momentum, you see where that takes you. And some of our signings this year, with having Nico on board, with having Kieran Elliott, we've added an awful lot of quality that hopefully gives us a lot more consistency across the board. And actually, if we are able to get rocky and rolling early, then we really could go anywhere with this team, to be honest. But it's like all things: you start slowly and you're looking over your shoulder, you start well and you're looking up. But yeah, our ambition is to be a top four club always, and we'd like to put ourselves back in that conversation again after a couple of years out of it.
I mean, Kieran Elliott's a hell of a signing. I mean, to get a player of his caliber, I was just looking at his stats here. He's taken 6 wickets against the Shield champions a few weeks ago, opening the bowling for Tasmania. So to get the Tasmanian opening quick, getting an overseas quick that's not just going to be wrapped up in cotton wool for the winter is a hell of a bit of business. So there's going to be a few people. I don't think he's not out and out quick, is he? I don't think, but he's going to cause a few problems for the top orders around the East Anglian Premier League for certain.
Yeah, I suspect he's plenty quick enough for some as well.
Yes.
And the thing he will get at our place is he's going to get pace and carry, and he's going to get the ability to nick people off consistency. My worry is more who might catch it, but we'll come to that one as the season goes on. But yeah, I think he'll be a significant player for us. For us to be able to pick up, I think he's fourth leading wicket taker in the Sheffield Shield or something. So this is proper caliber signing we've got here as a bowler. So you're not that if you're either quick nor skillful in Australia. So hopefully he'll bring both of those. The risk you always take when you sign a quick is, can he stay fit for his winter? In addition to a summer, but he's got this little bit of break between now. Him and Jake just picked up a load of awards at the Tasmanian Cricket Awards over the weekend, so he's now got a few weeks off. He joins us from week 5, so he's got to have a little bit of a break before he can come and play cricket due to workload. So hopefully he'll join us and he'll be fresh and ready to go pretty much straight into long format cricket, which isn't then too much of a transition from what he's been doing back home.
Definitely. These Tasmanian boys, we saw Jordan Silk playing for Brentwood, and now Jake Duran's gone to Brentwood instead. Jake Weatherald with you guys, and Kieran. There's obviously a Tassie link here and liking coming over to these shores, isn't there?
I think so. I mean, Tasmania, of all the Australian territories, is probably the most similar to the UK, isn't it? So, and I just think, players do talk. That's just the reality of, we all know that about cricket, that one comment can spread a long way. And for us, we were fortunate that Jake was at Tassie and he said, look, Kieran's looking for a club. He's a high-class operator. I think he'd be a great option for you. And for us, that's a great level of knowledge, because when you're signing an overseas, you don't 100% know what you're going to get. You can look at all the stats, all the clips you want, but you don't know the type of person they are. You don't know what's driving them. So when someone you've had says, look, he is a class operator, he's keen to come over, look here, and then it's a conversation between his agent and what we're doing. And so for us, that was a really nice in that we've had from our relationships previously. So that's given us another link to Tassie, and who knows, that might lead to something else again in the future. But yeah, I think a lot of the clubs hold pretty strong relationships with previous players that then give them a nod as well.
And to have somebody like him around Nathan Mugridge, to show him, how to be a opening bowler for a stateside is only going to help.
Yeah, I think that's that's the amazing thing for me about last year was I played a lot of cricket. I'm probably coming towards the end of my time, but being able to share a dressing room last year with Jake, with Monty, with Phil, just to tap into their brains and how they think and how they operate. You're learning all the time. Just you're playing with elite level sportsmen, albeit they might not be operating at an elite level anymore, but how they've gone about their cricket, their experiences, what they can share with you. And, it's brilliant for our young lads. And it's been actually one of our sort of selling points this year for some of the players we've had join us is, look, you're going to get the experience from Kieran Elliott. If you want to come and learn how to bowl seam, he's going to teach you. If you want to learn how to be a destructive batter, Phil Mustard will tell you how to do that. If you want to learn how to bowl spin a little bit, but Monty Panesar's going to do that. So not many clubs can turn around and kind of have that ability to say, look, we've got this pool of coaching talent that's played international sport. and you can just tap into it every Wednesday. Just grab a beer and just chat with them, and that for me is what cricket's all about. And sharing a dressing room with these guys is great, because once they're in the dressing room, everything's fair game, isn't it? And they're not the Monty Panesar who play for England anymore. It's Monty Panesar who plays for Great Witchingham, and he's fair game to all of us then, you know.
Welcome to the
Very
world
good.
of what is club cricket, full stop, end of story.
That's it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, we're coming towards the end of this preview show, and we've got some quick fire questions for you. Don't want you to think about them too much. Who's going to be the top 3 title contenders in the East Anglian Premier League?
I'd probably be looking at the same 3 as last year: Sawston, Copthog, and Horsford. Pretty much consistent. Sawston obviously regenerate 4 or 5 players, but the other 2 pretty much solid. Same as again, good talented team. So yeah, it'd be hard to look past those 3 as the 3 again.
And the dark horses, I'm guessing you're going to say?
Downham.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Who's going to be the top run scorer in the league?
Sam Afton.
You're listening, Sam.
Yeah.
Top wicket taker?
Casey Carryupper.
Bold prediction. Give me a bold prediction. Any sort of bold prediction for the season, whether it's league related or national cup, maybe?
My bold one is I genuinely think Downham could compete for the title.
Wow,
Yeah.
that'd be great. We have seen it in a couple of leagues last year where promoted sides had really pushed it, but
I think they have minor counties pedigree throughout the team, so they're not coming in as this like a fresh team. I don't see Downham coming up as like these newbie underdogs. Actually, they've got half the Norfolk team, and Norfolk just won a competition. So I think if you were looking at horse racing, you're going the form line's pretty strong. Like, I'm interested in that. So yeah, I would definitely have them as genuine title contenders if they get off to a good start.
And you've got a first game of the season.
Yeah.
and they'll start the season off with the 50 over game,
Yeah.
which is what Norfolk won last year for the national counties. But yeah, you're right. There's a good challenge. That'll be really interesting first few weeks there, definitely for Downham. What's the one thing that you're most excited about as we approach the season in a couple of weeks' time now, James?
You know what? For me, it's always just about playing cricket and getting around the boys again. It's just, we all work so hard in the winters. We have our families, we have our lives, and just, you get out there in the sun again, and you share experiences, share change rooms with people. It's just, they're some of the best days you have in your life. So I always say to the lads every year, honestly, just really, really enjoy it. You'll look back on these times in 20 years' time and go, I wish I could do it all again. So while it's here, just get around it, just love it. Don't see this season as a slog with loads of travel. Just enjoy it So for me, that excitement's always there. If you ask me the same question in 16 weeks' time, I might feel a bit different, having just travelled back from London again. But yeah, for me, it's the same every year. That's what drives me.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there when it's about being in that dressing room, enjoying it with the lads. Because one of your players has been doing it in the winter with the Legends League, with Monty going over to India. They wouldn't do this if they didn't want to be in those dressing rooms and play around those same elite players again, would they?
Yeah, you just can't really replicate what cricket brings you in the rest of your life, really. That it's just that unique environment of a change room where you spend all day together on a Saturday, sometimes all day Sunday, a couple of training sessions in the week. And it's not just that, it's genuine quality time too, that if you're not batting, you're sat with your mates for hours and hours. You just don't do that otherwise. You don't do it with your own family. And you just get to do it with this sort of bunch of random blokes every summer. And it's just fantastic. And I think it just offers this kind of unique perspective on life for a lot of people. So yeah, for me, that's always been one of the amazing parts of cricket is the bond that teams build. And I think, speak with Monty, speak with Phil when they're playing these Legends Leagues. They just love going to meet up and catch up with people they've spent an awful lot of time with because they've just got a close bond with them. And the cricket's kind of secondary. The cricket happens as well. And for them, they still enjoy that now. And it's the same for us at club cricket level. And it's the same all throughout the pyramid, I suspect.
100%, definitely.
Fantastic.
Hey, great chatting, James. Great listening about one of our favourite leagues from last year. And I have a funny feeling we'll be keeping a close eye on it again this year. Fingers crossed the weather sticks for us, because if you get those tracks that you potentially do get over in your league, the numbers are high, aren't they? And that makes it all the more interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. Hopefully, for me, from a batter spinner point of view, a hot summer's always in my favour. So yeah, I'm praying for the sun as well.
Brilliant. Great to chat, James.
No problem. Cheers,
Thanks, James.
Cheers now. thanks for joining us at the Premier League Cricket Club. We'll be back soon with more from the world of Premier League and NWCA cricket. But in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review and follow us wherever you get your socials. Or maybe check out our website, premierleaguecricket.co.uk, to stay updated. Until next time, have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.